Are you tired of waiting for motivation to magically show up? Do you keep making plans only to break them the very next day? What if I told you the secret to transforming your life isn't motivation, it's self-discipline? Welcome to the Audio Quill, the home of powerful book summaries that don't just inform, they transform. Here, we break down life-changing books into stories, strategies, and lessons you can actually use. In today's video, we're diving into a book that can reprogram your mind, rebuild your habits, and awaken the strongest version of you. The Science of Self-Discipline by Peter Hollins. But here's the catch. This isn't just a summary. This is a roadmap. And we're going to walk through 7 powerful chapters together. Each chapter uncovers a truth that can shift your mindset, crush your excuses, and help you take back control of your life. So here's a challenge for you. Will you watch till the end? Because the last chapter might just be the one thing standing between the current you and the version you've always wanted to become. Which of the 7 lessons do you think will hit you the hardest? Let us know in the comments, because your story might inspire someone else. And if you're someone who's finally ready to stop waiting and start building, then stay with us till the very end, because your transformation starts now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Motivation is overrated. How often have you told yourself, I'll start from tomorrow, only to find that tomorrow never actually arrives? We wait for the right mood, the perfect timing, or that sudden burst of energy that'll kickstart our journey. And that's exactly what Peter Hollins exposes in the very first chapter, our over-reliance on motivation. Society has glorified motivation as the golden key to success. We idolize inspirational speeches, chase the next motivational reel, and hope that somehow, this time, it will stick. But here's the hard truth. Motivation is unreliable, temporary, and incredibly overrated. Hollins paints a clear picture. Motivation is an emotion, and like all emotions, it's fleeting. One moment it's there, and the next, it's gone. It's easy to take action when you're feeling pumped, excited, or hopeful. But what happens when you're tired, or bored, or stressed out? That's where most people give up, because they were counting on motivation to carry them through. But motivation doesn't show up when things get hard. It doesn't knock on your door when the task is boring, the weather is bad, or your mind is full of self-doubt. And that's why successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. Peter Hollins explains that self-discipline is the ability to act according to your values, not your feelings. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's about being consistent, regardless of your emotional state. Discipline is steady, dependable, and built over time. Unlike motivation, it doesn't need a spark. It's a fire you build slowly, with deliberate choices and repetitive actions. He urges readers to think differently. Stop treating discipline like a personality trait that only a few possess. It's a skill, and like any skill, whether it's playing an instrument, speaking a new language, or learning to cook, discipline can be learned, practiced, and improved. The first step is to stop waiting for motivation to strike. Instead, take control by designing systems, creating habits, and showing up no matter what. Hollins gives the example of elite athletes. Do they feel motivated every single day? Of course not. But they show up, they train, they stick to routines, and they keep going. Not because they feel like it, but because they've built the habit of showing up. That's discipline in action. And if they can build it, so can we. By the end of the chapter, Hollins leaves us with a profound realization. If you truly want to change your life, whether it's your health, your career, your relationships, or your habits, you need something stronger than motivation. You need discipline. And the best part? You already have everything inside you to develop it. All you have to do is start. So the next time you think, I don't feel like it today, remember this. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. Chapter 2. The Role of Pain and Pleasure. At the core of every human decision lies a simple formula. Seek pleasure. Avoid pain. This isn't just a catchy phrase. It's the fundamental wiring of our brain. In Chapter 2 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins explores how these two primal forces, pain and pleasure, silently govern our daily choices, often without us even realizing it. He argues that understanding this internal tug-of-war is key to mastering self-discipline. If you've ever wondered why you keep scrolling social media instead of working out, or why you procrastinate on important tasks, the answer lies here. Your brain is simply choosing immediate pleasure over the discomfort of effort. Hollins explains that our brains are evolutionarily programmed to move toward things that feel good and move away from things that feel bad. This survival mechanism was incredibly useful in the wild. It helped our ancestors avoid danger and seek food, warmth, and safety. But in the modern world, this same instinct works against us. Our brains still crave comfort, ease, and instant gratification. That's why, even though you know working out is good for you, your brain whispers, "Stay in bed, it's warm and cozy." That's why instead of writing that important report, your fingers magically find their way to the YouTube app. Your brain isn't lazy. It's just trying to protect you from perceived discomfort. But here's where things get interesting. Pain and pleasure are not fixed realities. They're shaped by our perception. Hollins emphasizes that what we label as painful, like exercising, studying, or working on long-term goals, is often only uncomfortable because we've trained ourselves to see it that way. If we can reframe these activities and associate them with reward, growth, and personal pride, the pain starts to fade. Likewise, many of the things we consider pleasurable in the moment, junk food, excessive screen time, skipping responsibilities, often bring long-term pain in the form of guilt, regret, or missed opportunities. So, how do we shift this balance? Hollins introduces the idea of mental reconditioning. He encourages us to train our brains to associate pleasure with productive behaviors and pain with bad habits. For example, instead of seeing exercise as tiring or annoying, visualize the confidence and strength you'll feel after a workout. Instead of viewing reading or working on a project as boring, connect it to the future success and peace of mind it will bring. The more you practice this reframing, the more natural it becomes. And eventually, your brain will begin to crave the very things you once avoided. He also warns us about the seductive power of short-term pleasure. It's sneaky, it's addictive, and it promises quick comfort. But it always comes with a cost. One skipped workout turns into two. One lazy evening becomes a habit. Before you know it, you're stuck in a loop, chasing pleasure, avoiding pain, and slowly drifting further from your goals. The antidote? Awareness. Once you become conscious of this pattern, you gain the power to interrupt it. You begin to make intentional choices rather than emotional reactions. By the end of this chapter, Hollins delivers a powerful message. Self-discipline isn't about denying pleasure or embracing pain. It's about rebalancing how we see both. It's about choosing a slightly uncomfortable present for a deeply fulfilling future. It's about recognizing that real growth often lives on the other side of discomfort and learning to lean into that discomfort, not run from it. In simple terms, if you want to be more disciplined, don't just force yourself to work harder. Retrain your brain to want better. Chapter 3. Temptation Resistance and Delayed Gratification. Imagine this. A child is left in a room with a single marshmallow and told, if you can wait 15 minutes without eating it, you'll get 2 marshmallows. This classic experiment, known as a Stanford marshmallow test, is more than just a cute psychological study. It reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. Our ability to resist temptation and delay gratification is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. In Chapter 3 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins dives deep into this concept, explaining how our battle with temptation is at the heart of every decision we make, and why mastering it is the key to developing unshakable self-discipline. Temptation is everywhere. It's in your phone buzzing with notifications, the fridge humming in the kitchen, the couch calling your name when you're supposed to be working. In today's world of instant access and on-demand everything, resisting temptation has become harder than ever. Hollins explains that we live in an environment designed to weaken our willpower. Apps, advertising, entertainment, they're all engineered to capture your attention and reward your brain with quick, dopamine-fueled pleasure. The result? Our ability to delay gratification weakens. We start choosing what feels good now over what's good for us later. But here's where Hollins shifts the perspective. Resisting temptation isn't about raw willpower or heroic self-denial. It's about strategy. It's about understanding your environment, your triggers and your patterns, and then designing your life to reduce friction between you and your goals. He shares practical techniques like environmental design, removing distractions, turning off notifications, keeping junk food out of sight, and setting up your surroundings in a way that makes the right choice the easy choice. You don't have to be stronger than temptation. You just have to be smarter than it. He also introduces the powerful principle of delayed gratification, the ability to give up a small reward now in exchange for a bigger reward later. This is the muscle we must strengthen if we want to succeed in any area of life, whether it's fitness, finance, relationships, or career. Wanting to binge watch a show instead of studying, that's temptation. Choosing to study now for a better future, that's delayed gratification. Wanting to buy something expensive for an instant thrill, that's temptation. Saving that money for long-term freedom, that's discipline. Every decision is a test, and every test passed makes you stronger. But Hollins goes deeper than just behavior. He explores the emotional side of temptation, how we often give in, not out of desire, but out of escape. We use short-term pleasures to avoid stress, sadness, boredom, or fear. That's why building emotional resilience is so crucial. He encourages readers to get curious about their cravings. What am I really trying to avoid right now? Because once you face the real emotion underneath the temptation, its power starts to fade. You're no longer reacting. You're responding with awareness. One of the most empowering ideas in this chapter is that delaying gratification isn't deprivation, it's control. It's not about living a life of constant sacrifice, but about choosing what matters more over what feels easier. It's about aligning your actions with your values, not just your urges. It's about taking back the steering wheel from your impulses and giving it to your intentions. Hollins wraps up this chapter with a bold but honest truth. Success doesn't come from doing what feels good. It comes from doing what's right, especially when it doesn't feel good at all. And the ability to delay gratification is what separates those who live reactively from those who live intentionally. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for that extra snack, hitting snooze, or slipping into distraction, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me or holding me back? That tiny moment of reflection could be the first brick in building your strongest, most disciplined self. Chapter 4: Habit Formation and Willpower. When you think about the most disciplined people in the world, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the high achievers, one thing becomes glaringly obvious. They don't rely on motivation to achieve their goals. Instead, they've learned the incredible power of habits. And understanding how habits work is one of the most important pieces of mastering self-discipline. In Chapter 4 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins takes a deep dive into the science of habit formation and willpower, revealing how small, consistent actions compound over time to create extraordinary outcomes. The first thing Hollins emphasizes is the key difference between willpower and habits. Willpower, as we've already learned, is a finite resource. It's like a battery that gets drained throughout the day as we make decisions, resist temptations, and battle distractions. Eventually, the battery runs out, and that's when we tend to give in to bad habits or procrastination. But here's the secret. Habits don't require willpower. They're automatic. Once a habit is formed, it runs on autopilot, freeing up your willpower for other, more important tasks. So how do you form these automatic behaviors? According to Hollins, it all starts with the habit loop, a three-step process that includes cue, routine, and reward. The cue is the trigger that signals to your brain that it's time to start the behavior. The routine is the actual behavior itself, and the reward is the positive feeling or outcome you experience afterward. Over time, your brain begins to associate the cue with the reward, and the behavior becomes ingrained. This is how habits form. It's a simple yet incredibly powerful cycle. The more you repeat a habit, the more deeply rooted it becomes, until it's no longer something you have to think about, but something you do without even realizing it. Hollins stresses that small habits compound. It's not about radically changing your life overnight. It's about making incremental improvements every day. These small changes might seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they accumulate into huge transformations. For example, a 10-minute workout today won't make you a fitness guru, but it's the start of a consistent habit. If you do it every day, those 10 minutes will eventually turn into 30, then an hour. The key is consistency. The power of habits lies in their ability to create lasting change through regular repetition. But habits aren't just about the good stuff. Hollins reminds us that bad habits also form in the same way. The cue, the routine, and the reward. They don't care if the behavior is beneficial or harmful. For instance, you may have a habit of reaching for your phone as soon as you wake up. Q. Scrolling through social media for 20 minutes, routine, and feeling a hit of dopamine. Reward. Before you know it, you're starting your day in a distracted, unproductive state. The first step to breaking bad habits is awareness. Recognizing the triggers and rewards that are driving you to repeat the behavior. Once you know what's fueling the habit, you can begin to change the routine. Hollins also talks about the importance of environmental design in shaping our habits. If your environment encourages your desired behavior, it becomes infinitely easier to stick to good habits. Want to eat healthier? Stock your kitchen with fresh fruits and vegetables and hide the junk food. Want to read more books? Keep them visible in your living room or bedroom. The idea is simple. Make the desired behavior easier and the undesired behavior harder. When you set up your environment for success, you eliminate the need for constant willpower battles. He also stresses the significance of identity-based habits. Instead of thinking, I need to go to the gym, shift your mindset to, I am a person who takes care of my health. When you tie your habits to your identity, they feel more meaningful and are more likely to stick. This shift makes the behavior a part of who you are, not just something you do. It's not about trying to force yourself to act differently. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally does those things. Finally, Hollins introduces the concept of habit stacking, a strategy for building new habits by linking them to existing ones. For example, if you already have the habit of drinking coffee every morning, you could stack a new habit on top of it, like doing 5 minutes of stretching or journaling. By attaching a new habit to an established one, you're leveraging the power of consistency to make the new behavior stick. By the end of the chapter, Hollins leaves us with a powerful message. Self-discipline doesn't have to feel like a constant struggle. With the right understanding of how habits work, you can begin to change your life, one small action at a time. The key isn't willpower, it's the deliberate creation of habits that align with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. So remember, every small disciplined action you take today is the foundation of the person you'll become tomorrow. And just like that, your life transforms. One habit at a time. Chapter 5. Environment Design. Think about this for a moment. How often do you find yourself tempted by things around you? Maybe it's that snack bag on the counter, your phone lighting up with a notification, or even your cozy bed calling you when you know you should be working. Your environment plays a massive role in your ability to stay disciplined, and yet, most people overlook how deeply it impacts their decisions. In Chapter 5 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins pulls back the curtain on a powerful strategy for success: environment design. The idea is simple, yet profoundly transformative. Shape your surroundings to make good behavior easier and bad behavior harder. Most people think of willpower as the solution to their problems. They believe that if they just had more willpower, they could stay focused, avoid distractions, and resist temptation. But here's the truth. Willpower is not the magic fix. It's a limited resource, and it gets depleted over time. Eventually, you'll reach a point where your energy runs out, and that's when those temptations, distractions, and bad habits become hard to resist. This is where environment design steps in. Hollins argues that you don't need to rely on willpower when you can design your environment to automatically nudge you in the right direction. Consider this. If you want to exercise more, but your gym is miles away, surrounded by distractions, you're much less likely to go. But what if your gym was just in your garage? Or if you had a yoga mat rolled out in your living room, ready to go? By making the desired behavior more accessible, you reduce friction. You make it easier to take action, and suddenly, the choice to exercise becomes automatic. On the flip side, Hollins talks about removing temptations from your environment. If you're trying to eat healthier, for instance, don't leave junk food in plain sight. Put healthy snacks in easy-to-reach spots and store the cookies or chips out of view. Or better yet, don't buy them at all. The more you can make the right choice, the default choice, the more discipline you'll have without having to fight against your environment. One of the key ideas Hollins emphasizes is making your goals more obvious in your environment. People often make the mistake of keeping their goals abstract. They might think, I want to be more productive, or I should read more. But these are vague goals without clear reminders. Instead, Hollins suggests making your goals so obvious that you can't ignore them. For instance, if you want to read more, leave a book on your pillow or near your coffee mug so that it's in your line of sight. Put a journal on your desk, ready to be used. When your goals are visible and accessible, it sends a subtle yet constant reminder to take action, reducing the cognitive load required to make decisions. It's like placing the right cues in front of you all the time, nudging you toward the habits that will help you succeed. Hollins also delves into the importance of social environment, the people you spend time with. The truth is, your habits and behaviors are heavily influenced by the company you keep. Surround yourself with people who share your values and goals, and you'll find it much easier to stay on track. If you're around people who eat junk food, procrastinate, or indulge in unhealthy habits, you're more likely to do the same. The people you interact with regularly either lift you up or pull you down. This is why it's essential to choose your social circle wisely and seek out individuals who inspire and encourage you to be your best self. If your friends are supportive of your goals, they can help you stay disciplined. And when you face setbacks, they'll be the ones to remind you of your potential. Hollins also talks about the importance of habits stacking in your environment. By placing your desired behaviors next to existing habits, you can leverage the automaticity of your routines to make new habits stick. For example, if you already have the habit of drinking coffee in the morning, stack a new habit onto it, like practicing 5 minutes of meditation before you drink it. The coffee habit is already ingrained, so using it as a cue for something new makes the new habit much easier to adopt. One aspect of environment design that many people overlook is the role of technology. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with notifications, emails, and messages, our phones can become the ultimate distraction. Hollins encourages readers to take control of their digital environment by turning off non-essential notifications, setting time limits on apps, and creating dedicated spaces for focused work. This not only prevents distractions, but also helps you reclaim your time and attention. The more you can design your digital environment to support your goals, the easier it becomes to focus on what really matters. Finally, Hollins concludes with an important reminder. You don't have to rely on willpower to make good decisions. Instead, you can design your environment so that it encourages the behavior you want. When your surroundings align with your goals, self-discipline becomes a natural, almost effortless process. You don't have to fight against your desires. You just have to make the right choices easier to make. By taking a proactive approach to your environment, you can set yourself up for success without burning out your willpower. In the end, environmental design isn't just about setting up your physical space, it's about creating an ecosystem that nurtures your success. Whether it's your home, your workplace, or your social circles, when you intentionally design your environment to support your goals, you'll find it much easier to stay disciplined, stay focused, and stay on track. Your environment, after all, is the silent architect of your habits. Change that, and you change everything. Chapter 6. Emotional Regulation. Have you ever had a moment where your emotions completely took over? Maybe it was that burst of anger during a stressful day, or the overwhelming sadness that made you procrastinate on your tasks. Emotions are powerful forces that shape our behavior, but they're often the very things that can prevent us from exercising self-discipline. In Chapter 6 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins dives deep into the critical skill of emotional regulation, a practice that allows us to control our emotional impulses rather than letting them dictate our actions. This chapter is all about how to manage your feelings so that you can stay focused, avoid unnecessary distractions, and ultimately maintain your self-discipline. One of the most important takeaways from this chapter is the recognition that emotions are not inherently good or bad. They're simply signals that tell us how we're reacting to the world around us. The problem arises when we react to those emotions impulsively, without thinking through the consequences. Hollins argues that emotional regulation isn't about suppressing or ignoring your feelings. It's about learning how to process them in a way that doesn't hijack your focus or sabotage your goals. In fact, by learning to regulate our emotions, we actually empower ourselves to make better, more intentional decisions, ones that align with our long-term vision rather than our immediate impulses. To begin the process of emotional regulation, Hollins first encourages readers to develop a heightened awareness of their emotional triggers. Understanding what sets off your emotional reactions is the first step in gaining control over them. For instance, you might realize that certain situations, like stressful meetings or chaotic environments, trigger feelings of anxiety or frustration. Once you recognize your triggers, you can begin to implement strategies to interrupt the emotional loop that typically follows. Hollins emphasizes the importance of creating a mental pause between stimulus, the triggering event, and response, the emotional reaction. This pause, however brief, can be the difference between acting impulsively and responding thoughtfully. The chapter goes on to explore specific techniques for emotional regulation, including mindfulness and reframing. Mindfulness involves staying present and non-judgmental about your emotions. Instead of reacting immediately, you simply observe how you're feeling, without letting it define you or dictate your next move. It's like stepping back from the emotional storm and watching it from a distance. This allows you to create the space you need to decide how to act instead of simply reacting. Reframing, on the other hand, involves changing your perspective on a situation to alter your emotional response. For example, instead of viewing a challenging task as an overwhelming burden, you can reframe it as an opportunity to grow and improve. By shifting your mindset, you shift your emotional experience, which ultimately makes it easier to stay disciplined and focused on your goals. Hollins also talks about the role of self-compassion in emotional regulation. He suggests that being kind to yourself during moments of emotional distress is crucial for maintaining self-discipline. Too often, people beat themselves up for having negative emotions or for not staying perfectly focused. But emotions are part of the human experience, and the more we accept them as normal, the easier it becomes to move past them. When we approach ourselves with compassion, we're less likely to let guilt or shame derail our progress. In essence, self-compassion allows us to stay grounded, acknowledging our emotions without letting them control us. Another powerful tool Hollins introduces is the concept of emotional distancing. This technique involves mentally stepping away from a highly charged emotional experience to view it from a more neutral or detached perspective. For instance, if you're feeling angry during a conversation, you can try to visualize the situation as though you were an outside observer. How would you perceive the interaction if you weren't emotionally involved? This strategy allows you to detach from the heat of the moment and make more rational decisions. By distancing yourself emotionally, you gain control over how you react to difficult situations. Hollins also emphasizes the importance of building emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and emotional setbacks are inevitable. But emotional resilience is what allows us to bounce back quickly and not let temporary emotions derail us for long. One way to build this resilience is by exposing yourself to manageable stress in controlled environments so that you can gradually strengthen your ability to handle more intense emotional experiences in the future. Over time, these small acts of emotional resilience will help you develop a stronger, more stable foundation for self-discipline. You'll become less vulnerable to the emotional roller coaster that often leads to procrastination, self-doubt, or impulsive decisions. Hollins also introduces the idea of emotion-driven actions, how we often allow our feelings to dictate our choices, whether it's choosing to indulge in unhealthy habits or putting off important tasks because we feel unmotivated. This is where emotional regulation becomes a game changer. By learning to respond rather than react, you take back control of your actions and align them with your long-term objectives. In moments of frustration or sadness, for example, instead of reacting by binge-watching TV or eating comfort food, you can choose to take a walk, meditate, or focus on your work. The key is recognizing that emotions are temporary and they don't have to control you. The chapter closes with a powerful reminder. Your emotions don't define you. They are a natural part of the human experience, but you have the ability to manage them. By mastering emotional regulation, you gain the power to stay focused, resist distractions, and push through challenges with resilience and poise. This doesn't mean you'll never feel frustrated, angry, or anxious. It means that instead of allowing those emotions to drive your behavior, you can choose how to respond in a way that aligns with your highest values and goals. Ultimately, emotional regulation is the foundation upon which self-discipline is built. It's the skill that allows you to stay on course, no matter what emotional storms come your way. This chapter highlights how emotional regulation is key to unlocking your full potential. Chapter 7. Mental Toughness. What separates the achievers from the dreamers, the winners from the quitters? It's not talent, luck, or sheer motivation. The secret ingredient is mental toughness. In Chapter 7 of The Science of Self-Discipline, Peter Hollins delves into this powerful concept, showing how it plays a pivotal role in mastering self-discipline. Mental toughness is often misunderstood as something you either have or you don't, but Hollins unveils the truth. Mental toughness is a skill you can develop. It's about building the resilience and mindset needed to overcome challenges, push through discomfort, and stay focused on your goals, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. This chapter reveals how you can forge this essential trait and why it's the foundation for achieving lasting success. At its core, mental toughness is the ability to stay calm and composed under pressure, to maintain focus when distractions are rampant, and to stay motivated when the going gets tough. Hollins makes it clear that mental toughness isn't just for athletes or high performers in extreme situations. It's a trait that benefits anyone who wants to achieve something meaningful. Whether that's advancing in your career, improving your health, or even mastering a new skill. The key is how you respond to adversity and your ability to keep moving forward, despite the inevitable setbacks and challenges that life throws at you. Hollins begins by explaining that mental toughness is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that you're invincible. In fact, the strongest people aren't the ones who don't feel fear or doubt. They're the ones who feel it, but don't let it control their actions. True mental toughness involves acknowledging your emotions, be it anxiety, fear, or frustration, and using them as fuel to propel you forward. It's about recognizing that adversity and discomfort are part of the journey and that you can use them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. One of the first strategies Hollins suggests to develop mental toughness is the power of positive self-talk. Often, when we face challenges, our internal dialogue is filled with negativity and self-doubt. I can't do this. This is too hard. Or I'm not good enough. These thoughts not only sap your confidence, but also undermine your ability to take action. Hollins highlights how mental toughness is rooted in the ability to flip these negative thoughts into empowering affirmations. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, ask yourself, what can I do right now to get closer to my goal? Shifting your internal narrative is an essential part of building mental resilience. It's about transforming obstacles into opportunities and turning self-doubt into a driving force. Another powerful tool Hollins emphasizes in the chapter is deliberate practice and the importance of embracing discomfort. Mental toughness isn't forged in moments of comfort or ease. It's built when you push yourself beyond what's familiar and step into the uncomfortable. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone, and this requires a certain level of mental fortitude. Hollins uses the example of athletes who push through physical pain during training to achieve greatness. But the same principle applies to any area of life. Whether you're trying to finish a challenging project at work, sticking to a new habit, or pursuing a long-term goal, you'll need to confront the discomfort and frustration that often comes with growth. Mental toughness is about pushing through when you feel like giving up, understanding that this discomfort is a sign that you're on the right path. A crucial aspect of mental toughness, according to Hollins, is the ability to stay consistent. It's easy to feel motivated when things are going well or when you're inspired. But the real test of mental toughness comes when things get tough and your motivation wanes. Hollins encourages readers to focus on developing habits of consistency, rather than relying solely on fleeting moments of motivation. One of the best ways to cultivate this consistency is by making your actions automatic. Create routines and systems that require little to no mental energy to execute, so that even on your most challenging days, you're still moving forward. Hollins emphasizes that it's the daily small actions that lead to big results, and mental toughness is the ability to stick with those actions even when you don't feel like it. Moreover, mental toughness is about resilience, bouncing back from failure, and learning from your mistakes. Hollins highlights how successful individuals view failure not as an endpoint, but as part of the process. The ability to fail without being defeated is a hallmark of mental toughness. When you experience setbacks, embrace them as valuable learning experiences. Use each failure to assess what went wrong and how you can improve in the future. This mindset shift from seeing failure as something to avoid to something to learn from allows you to stay committed to your goals, regardless of how many times you fall short. Mental toughness is about developing a never give up attitude even when things don't go as planned. In addition, Hollins talks about the importance of visualization and mental preparation. Before embarking on a difficult task or challenge, mentally prepare yourself for the obstacles you might face. Visualizing yourself pushing through the struggle, overcoming difficulties, and achieving your desired outcome can strengthen your resolve and help you stay focused during tough times. Visualization primes your mind for success and builds your mental toughness by reinforcing your belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. It's a practice that allows you to train your brain for success, even before the challenge begins. Finally, self-discipline and mental toughness go hand in hand. While mental toughness allows you to stay focused and resilient, self-discipline is the daily commitment to doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Hollins suggests that developing mental toughness requires consistent effort to practice self-discipline, set long-term goals, and maintain the grit to stick with them. The two are inseparable. Mental toughness gives you the strength to face the challenges that come with discipline, and discipline gives you the ability to keep fighting even when the odds are stacked against you. In conclusion, mental toughness is a muscle that can be trained. It's not something you're born with, but rather a skill you can develop over time. The more you practice resilience, stay consistent in your habits, and shift your mindset to embrace discomfort, the tougher you'll become. And the best part? Mental toughness doesn't just help you succeed in one area of life. It empowers you to overcome challenges in every area. Whether it's at work, in relationships, or in personal growth, the ability to cultivate mental toughness will keep you on the path to success, no matter the roadblocks that arise. So, if you truly follow these 7 chapters with honesty and commitment, then success won't just be a distant dream. It will become your reality. Self-discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you have the potential to become. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, even on the days when motivation fades and a journey feels heavy. Remember, greatness isn't achieved in a single moment of inspiration. It's built slowly, quietly, through disciplined choices made every single day. And if this video helped shift your perspective even a little, if it made you think, yes, I can change, then do something powerful right now. Subscribe to our channel, The Audio Quill, because here, we don't just talk about growth, we live it, one chapter at a time. Share this video with someone who needs it, because sometimes one good message can spark a lifetime of transformation. And before you go, tell us in the comments, which chapter spoke to you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation. This is just the beginning. Your discipline, your success, your story. It starts now. Thank you and see you in next video.